wonderful good morning to everyone. Um, at first, I didn't know who Lewis was. And I think he's the man of the hour because he's representing the hostages, which represents humanity, this handful of people that have been dehumanized, demonized, and the world did not make them into a priority, unfortunately. They became just the victim of everybody, not only Hamas. So many countries betrayed those hostages. And it's very important that Lewis has the courage and the power to come and represent their case to the world. It's not an easy thing. Maybe some of you can see my anger and my frustration. On one hand, my family is involved in this major crime. It's not only crime against Israelis, it's a crime against humanity. And I'm trying to reverse the wheel of time, the wheel of history. And I don't know if I will succeed, but at least he's here, he's with us. And I hope that soon we will have the remaining hostages free and alive. Every moment, every day that goes by, that means that we are losing some of them. We saw just recently skin on bone. And the world still in denial, and I cannot understand it. Is it because they are Jewish? Is it because they are Israelis? We saw how Hamas kidnapped them from their living rooms, from their backyards. They took toddlers, infants. Louis is not the only one who was taken into Gaza. 5 members of his family as well. And I'm very happy to know that all of them are among us and they are alive and they are well. Thank you for your spirit. Thank you for your courage. And I hope to see the remains of the hostages, the remaining hostages, returning home soon.
Mosab, I want to start with you. You know Hamas intimately. I'm curious to hear from you. What was your immediate reaction on October 7th? And were you surprised by the scale and brutality of the attack? Or did it align with what you've always known about Hamas?
It's good to, it's important to know that I left Hamas many, many years ago, and I fought against them for about 10 years. I did everything within my ability to sabotage their operation. And I didn't do it out of hatred. It was out of responsibility, even though it was suicidal. Because got caught at that time, especially during the second intifada, it meant death. So, and I had my reasons. And we don't have the time to go through all my motives. But most importantly, what I believed that I couldn't go wrong by saving a human life. It was not about Israel. It was not about Palestinians. The suicide bombers, when they targeted civilians indiscriminately. They did not say, okay, this is Jewish, we kill him, and this is an American or other nationality. They blew up buses, markets, universities, synagogues, beaches, nightclubs. More than 100, for those who weren't here during the Second Intifada, more than 100 suicide bombing attack. So we were in the middle of this mess. On one hand, my father was very, very busy to inflict more pain and more destruction on Israel and on the Jewish people. From my perspective, every time we stopped suicide bombing attack, I knew that we saved human lives. And that was my moral compass. I didn't need to justify my work. And the fact that I'm talking about it right now, not to critic myself of any, I just want you to that I didn't start yesterday, and my journey did not start after October 7th. 15 years of fighting against Hamas ideology and against Hamas operation. Knowing that if Hamas succeeded in destroying Israel, they will come after the Arabs. They will come after other Muslim sects. They will come after the West, because jihad has no limit. Even though Hamas has the Palestinian cause as a device, this is how they guarantee the continuation by the name of nationalism. But at their essence, it's a religious war. From one side, when I say religious war, I don't mean religious war between the Jews and the Muslims, or at least between Israel and jihadists. It's only one way, and that's an Islamic jihadist assault on the Jewish people for being Jewish. Since childhood, this is my condition. And of course, some people may argue and say, okay, you belong to an extreme Muslim family. This is not the rest of the Muslim world. But I can argue back that it's found in the Holy Scriptures of Islam, in the Quran itself. The only religion, unfortunately, that points out other religions by the name and incite violence against people. More than 42 times Israel is mentioned in the Quran. You will not find in the Bible even one time mentioning the Muslims or any other religious scripture. I have studied Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Christianity, Islam, and the divisions and subdivisions within this, the major religions. In fact, I practiced those religions. I've been to synagogues, I've been to temples, I've been to mosques, I've been to churches. I met with the people, I lived with the people, I built bridges. And on that authority today I speak. Many can find it funny to just accuse and discredit, say this is just a small minority in the world. And I say, no, the problem is much bigger than this. Unfortunately, the denial continues. And this is part of my frustration and why I lost my patience after October 7th. Because I have war that Hamas is going to drag the entire region into a bloodbath. And they succeeded. And today, instead of learning the lesson, instead of getting united to fight this disease,
that is actually, it's not only anti-Israel, it's anti-civilization. If I go to India, we have an Islamic problem. And if the Indian president talk about Islam, they label him as Islamophobic. If I go to Europe, we have an Islamic problem. Most of the religious radical terrorism is coming mostly by the name of Islam and by the name of Allah. On October 7, Hamas did not kill innocent people and kidnap innocent people by the name of nationalism or by the name of Palestine. They killed people by the name of Allah. Allah does not like anyone who is not obedient to him. And of course, many can say, okay, you can find violence in the Bible, you can find violence in every religion. But I say the unique situation in Islam, that it's legislation, it's a way of worship, it's a way of obedience. Conquering the world is a mission. And even though there are moderate Muslims and peaceful Muslims, but to dominate earth, which belongs to Allah, is an Islamic mission. And all it took, 19 terrorists on 9/11, to turn the globe into chaos. And up to this point, every time I go to the airport, I know that I can credit it to Muslim terrorists. And in fact, if I want to go even prior to that, thanks to the Palestinians who hijacked commercial airlines, blow them up on the runways, kidnapped people. And since then, we had to take extreme security measures. We had to force billions of people around the globe to go through crazy security measures. Why? Because we have a small minority of maniacs that now everybody is living the consequences of their violence. And if you just look back, what happened after 9/11 and how the world changed, how much darkness and mistrust came to the world, and the world does not want to call them out and say, we don't coexist with violence. If you don't have the capacity to separate between Islam and mosque, or between politics and religion, mosque and state, then we have a problem. In Europe, we separate between church and state. Most democracies follow this lead. So why don't we encourage the Muslims? I'm not saying that we need to fight with them, but we can at least help them evolve, integrate, follow the lead of humanity. And when I speak about this problem, I was born a Muslim. I went to a Sharia school. My father is Muslim Brotherhood, not only Hamas, the biggest Islamic movement in the world with more than 100 million active members. And all of them believe in violence. And I know their danger. This is why I speak against them. So what was the reaction of the world? I got canceled, I got labeled, I got framed, and they still attack my mission. What are we waiting for? More disasters to know that we are dealing with 7th century mentality? This is the 21st century. Religion should not have an absolute grip and decide the fate of humanity. What we witnessed on October 7th, that was not an assault against Israel. Hamas does not believe in nationalism to begin with. They don't believe in Palestine or the name of Palestine. This is what my father taught me since childhood. He said, we don't believe in political borders. But they use Palestine as a device. Why? because it's more appealing than Islam. When ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Salafi jihadists, and other terrorist groups declared war on civilization, it was much easier for us to counter them, to deconstruct their operation. It was much easier. But we have been fighting against the Muslim Brotherhood for almost a century, and we cannot defeat them because they have totally different strategy. They built infrastructure, they built schools, they take on national causes like Palestine, like Afghanistan, like Kashmir. And the world is fooled. They say, yes, this is a legitimate resistance. All of a sudden, October 7 Berbers became legitimate and justified. In Gaza, there is only one crime. And the crime in Gaza is the use of human shields by their governing authority. And that's the responsibility of Hamas. On October 7, hundreds of war crimes had been committed. Each case is a war crime. And it's not measured by the hit count. And of course, I can go on and on of how to discern the difference between the fight of a democracy that has been dragged into the most brutal and most complicated war of our time. There is no army in the world that is prepared for such scenario where terrorists hijack one of the most populated areas on earth and use their own children as human shields for global sympathy. The problem with the rest of the world don't understand martyrdom, shahada. Their concern is not in this life, it's in the other life. And unfortunately, what's supposed to be moderate Muslims are not taking stand to fight against extremism. And this is very suspicious to me, because it was also very strange that they celebrated on October 8th, they triumphed. They thought it was a victory. The biggest blow against Israel, against civilization, what they consider the enemy of Islam. They believe that the entire world, or the non-Muslims around that block, conspiring against Islam. And this is not the truth, as someone who has traveled the world. In fact, everybody is in denial, and they don't want to admit that the Muslims are a threat, while the Muslims believe that everybody is against them. Totally inverted reality. So, October 7 is not the worst that could happen to humanity. They used lethal force on October 7. What's more dangerous if they grow in number and all of a sudden they infiltrate our governments? In Europe, when they become right now 20%, in France is a nuclear power. Sooner or later, we might have a Muslim president. And then the coup is going to be Muslim against Muslim. Same thing with the Palestinian Authority. The entire world bet their money, their effort on the Palestinian Authority, and Hamas took over Gaza in less than 24 hours. And today, the world wants to gamble again and give it to an aging system that's proving corrupt, without moral compass. And who guarantees that tomorrow is going to be another group? Maybe not Hamas, could be any other name. So, October 7 is only a test. The hostages is our test, and we betray them. And the world start comparing Jewish blood to the Muslim blood. Jews around the world, it's about 15 million people, a small minority. Muslims are 2 billion people. And when I see the moral decay within the Muslim population, when they see the slaughter of toddlers, the kidnapping of Holocaust survivors, of innocent civilians, that actually mostly they were pro-Palestine. They were pro-existence, pro-two-state solution. And they are the ones who paid the price. And we have betrayed. So if we let this small minority, the Jewish people, with a great contribution, not because my friend is sitting here, and not because this is Israel, which sounds good sound, like propaganda. I am afraid if we betray the Jewish people for after all the contribution to life, unconditional, sharing all the innovation, science, literature, morality, ethics, values with the rest of the world, then we punish them for that, for being successful, for the sake of the Muslim majority. This means that we are in deep trouble. I promise you that. Islam is not good news. And the same way humanity fought against Christianity. They did not say in the dark ages of Europe, when the priests used to burn scientists to death, they did not say radical Christianity versus moderate Christianity. They said we don't want Christianity controlling our lives, period. And we are in the same place right now. And I myself, by the way, in Christ's consciousness. So I have the authority to even criticize Christianity, criticize religion. But when it comes to Islam, this is a different story, and we are living now the dark ages. If we allow them to spread, to get legitimacy, to justify their actions, tomorrow there's going to be another cause. And by the way, look, you bring their holy scripture, some crazy guy would burn it, set it on fire, and the entire Muslim world would boycott governments and demonstrate the streets and project hatred against the world. And we tell them this is not the fault of governments and societies. It was the fault of an ignorant person. Why are you punishing everybody for that thing? It's very hard to rationalize with. The more we show them weakness, and in fact, in this case, the more we show tolerance is going to be perceived as weakness, and it will ignite their bloodlust. This is my concern. When people live subconsciously at the level of even animal who's on a higher level, then let them smell a little bit of blood and see their reaction. We don't want this to be repeated anywhere, in any country, to any nation. Humanity depends on each other. We live in a dependent existence. We are all the same. And by the way, including the Hamas terrorists, they still belong to the human family. I'm not here to incite against certain group. But when we have those who live in separation and they forgot that we are all one family under the sun, and we are all children of life, children of earth, then we must take extreme measures, even if it means eliminating some humans. Hamas, after what they did, not only on October 7th, what they've been doing for the past 36 years. They don't have equal rights to decent citizens who were kidnapped from their households. When they woke up that morning, along with their children. Nobody has that right. And those who think that they have the authority to do whatever they want, we must stand united against their aggression. I'm not here to incite against Muslims, against Islam. I'm just pointing out what I have been through. And I hope that no one, whether if it's in the Far East or in the West, that has to endure what I have to witness, what I have to go through. I know I may not answer your question, but these words really needed to come out. Because I know many people here representing many nations, and I want them to understand that I've been to many of those countries. I have friends everywhere. And I cannot fathom that these people will at some point have to live the darkness of barbarism. I want it to stop now. I want humanity to get united behind Israel in this fight, because if we prove them wrong and we tell them that jihad is a dead end, whether you practice jihad against Jews, against Buddhists, against Hindus, against Christians, it doesn't matter. We are all united and we all believe in diversity. Muslims have the right to exist. We don't have a problem with that if they want to be devoted to their God, but don't make it into a political movement. Don't intimidate the rest of the world. This is not acceptable, because the universal design depends on diversity. Thank you for listening, and please forgive me for mischanted. Or many governments are going to look very ridiculous, because the reality on the ground, and we cannot reveal everything right now, it's shifting against the Palestinian Authority interest. We don't like them. Before they came to Ramallah, everything was okay. Before the first Intifada, when Yasser Arafat from Tunisia, from his luxury mansions, sent children to die on the checkpoints, masked men used to come to our schools and force us to go to the checkpoints. Yasser Arafat wanted children to die. This is a Palestinian strategy. And everything went into chaos. Prior to the first Intifada, we used to come here to the beach, drive our car. We did not have a checkpoint. There was no fence. There was no wall. We dined here. We came to Yafa. We went everywhere. Everything was fine. Jewish families used to come to our house. I remember my father, a Hamas leader, serving Jewish families food, our traditional dishes. We were able to build bridges. But somehow these criminals, what's so-called PLO, they're not concerned of the average people who are living in the West Bank. They're not concerned. They're concerned of the global game. And the more the world give them legitimacy, funds, the more aggressive they become. This is their game. And of course, I understand your position that you need a representative of the Palestinian people in order to find a solution. That's understandable. But the question, are they actually a legitimate representative of the Arabs in Judea and Samaria? I don't think so. And sooner or later, you will see that there is an alternative that is rising. That is strong. And you can go ahead and recognize a Palestinian state. Then you may be surprised with something else that is going to be maybe the Arab Federation or an emirate that is answering the needs of the majority of the people. And I am sure it's in Israel's interest to support what the Arabs in the West Bank actually need. Do they need a sovereign state where we will have to fit two elephants in the eye of a needle? You see how small the country, from the sea to the Jordanian Valley, you can cross the entire region in 2 minutes by airplane. Where can we fit two sovereign states? Reality on the ground is different. So the world can try to force Israel to recognize a Palestinian state. It's not going to happen, because to Israel, it's a matter of security. And the Jordanian Valley functions
as a defense line. So I know from experience, Israel is not going to submit to the global pressure, even if it means sanctions from everybody. So take that in consideration. So what's the point? Especially if this is not answering the needs of the Arabs who are in the West Bank. This is what the Arabs in the West Bank, and I include myself, we are not Palestinians. Our ethnicity, we are Arabs. What we need economy, we need peace and cooperation with our cousins. We are Semites. The Jewish people are Semites, we're cousins. We belong to the same father, to the same family. And we were able to coexist before the Muslim Brotherhood, before the PLO, and all these corrupt entities came to control our lives, steal our money, shed our blood, and label us as a violent political movement, which is not us. So please don't invest your energy, at least for the next year, until things become clearer after we remove Hamas from power, to see what actually the Arabs in the West Bank and in the Gaza, what they want. Maybe there is a much better solution that is going to lead the region to peace rather than crazy ideas that will lead to more division and to more bloodshed.
I'd like to thank our exceptional panel, Luis, Mosab, Dan. And we'd now like to open the floor for questions from the audience.
Jack, it you all is very not only interesting, it's really touching, and it's significant. Mosab, I met you. My name is Hannah Beresani, one of the veteran correspondents for Spanish outlets in Israel. I met you many years ago in your house, your home in Tia. I interviewed your dad after one of the camps he was released from prison. And I remember when I saw you, I thought, this guy doesn't look Hamas. I don't know, it was a prediction of you. Well, I would like yeah. Thanks for your courage, really. I wonder, Mosab, there's one of the discussions of many among us, the Israelis, about the message being conveyed by the families of the hostages in these nationwide protests. One of the positions, without going into Israeli politics, one of the positions says that it's unavoidable that they go out and protest for the nightmare in which they have been living for so long. But there is a position saying that this strengthens Hamas, that all the pressure should be directed openly against Qatar, against Hamas, a cry for the world to pressure Hamas. What's your opinion about that? Thank you.
The situation is inconvenient to the politicians, to the government, because the government is trying everything within their ability to bring the hostages, but it's not only about the hostages. It's also it's an existential fight. It's about proving terrorists wrong and remove them from power so we don't have to deal with this vicious cycle for eternity. But in my opinion, this shows a real model of democracy, demonstrated in the most difficult times of a nation, where the government, knowingly that such protests will give Hamas a lifeline, because it makes Hamas believe that there is a possibility of division within the ranks of the enemy and possibly the collapse of the government. This is how they see it. And they think that they are progressing. This is why they spread their psychological warfare in order to break the nation. The government, the security agencies are aware of this problem. People are emotional, they're vulnerable. It's a very difficult situation for everyone. And when the people direct their hatred and their frustration against the government that is working around the clock to save the hostages, it's very frustrating and it's very dangerous for any government. But how the Israeli government deal with the situation, it shows a real practice of democracy in the most difficult times. And this is why I love Israel very much.
Show me the protest on the other side. Many countries in a situation like this, they may repress the public. And I'm very, very proud of how Israel is handling the situation, even though it has been perceived by Israel's enemy as an advantage, as a crack that they can work on. But on the long term, this is healthy. This shows strength. It shows the power of a diverse nation that is not afraid to criticize even in the most difficult times.
Thank you very much. Robert, I'm from the Embassy of Estonia. So the last part of the discussion was really interesting because you covered you called upon the countries not to recognize the state of Palestine, and you mentioned that there's maybe something else, that more important, that the Palestinians and Israelis need. It's a peace and cooperation with the neighboring countries. So because Estonia is also part of the European Union, and we also have the same discussion now going on in our country, I'm naturally curious. It will be interesting to hear your perspective. What's the alternative to recognition of Palestine, or maybe to going forward with this idea? What's the alternative to the, let's go general, to the solution of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, let's say? Because we can argue, and it's that the purpose of recognition is not that about rewarding the terrorist actions, of course, which is despicable, but it's more about pressurizing Israel into trying to solve the war and the war going on in Gaza. It's a matter of debate how much it will actually, or it might, influence Israel or influence its actions in Gaza. But the question is what to do if not to pressurize, or if not to recognize the state of Palestine. Is there any other alternative, better one that we should consider? Thank you.
Sorry, guys, I'm taking the mic. As you see, I love to speak. Yes, there is an alternative. And this is what I'm talking about. Things that I cannot reveal completely. But an Arab Federation makes a lot more sense to me. What do we want to do with the political borders and a sovereign state, an army, and this is not beneficial to the people. Actually, my attempt is to, if possible, to burn the political borders eventually. We are in 21st century, and it looks like we're going backwards. What do I want to do with another Arab state? Arabs had the opportunity back in 1948, for those who understand the history. Then they rejected coexistence. They rejected Israel's right to exist. They have been in denial. And after 77 years of warring, reality on the ground changed. Reality on the ground changed since I was born. And I told you my personal experience as a child. We did not have this problem. Nobody thought of building any walls or any fences. So now the reality on the ground is different. We have hundreds of thousands of Israeli citizens who are in the West Bank. From my perspective, the Jewish depth is in the West Bank. It's in Jerusalem. It's where the temple, the ruins of the Jewish kingdoms, which all of us can witness. And the Arabs rejected. Israel gave them the opportunity. Okay, part of the land, establish your state. But instead they invaded. Not only one war, 7 major wars. After losing multiple times, why the world is blaming Israel for controlling the West Bank? It was the outcome of the Arab defeat, the outcome of the Arab aggression that did not want to reconcile. So with that said, I'm very realistic. Why do I want to dismantle and displace hundreds of thousands of people who were born now in Judea and Samaria? And I think that this is a solution, especially after seeing the Israeli government under Ariel Sharon displacing all the Israeli citizens from Gaza, giving it to Mahmoud Abbas or giving it to Yasser Arafat, which eventually led to control by Hamas. This is a very dangerous risk. It's a very, very big price, and the outcome is going to be about the same. What I would like for my people, the Arabians,
I would like for them to build bridges with Israel. Forget about political borders. If it was up to me, I give Israel the security, I give Israel the economy, I let Israel lead. And I would learn from Israel, I would learn from the Jewish people how to actually thrive, how to prosper. I don't have a problem with that. I don't know why the Arabs feel ashamed of building bridges with their cousins. Especially us today. We were born in this land. It's our birthright to be here. And I am not canceling the birthright of the Arabs to actually live and thrive and prosper. So how can we do that? I prefer to my people economy, education, infrastructure, cooperation with Israel, and to begin building bridges as soon as possible. The state illusion, this is not going to lead to guarantee prosperity, especially with this mentality that is going after Israel on a global campaign to delegitimize Israel, while what so-called Palestinians don't have legitimacy. It's a colonial entity, pretending around the world that they are the indigenous of the land, fighting against colonizers. Well, your very identity is a colonial identity. At least when they say Israel, we know Israel is 3,000 years old. And the Palestinian movement is less than 70 years old. So this hypocrisy, this attack on Israel, trying to delegitimize Israel, I don't understand how this is going to lead to peace. I don't want political borders. I want to give Israel the security, and I would like from the rest of the world to give our people economy. And this is what will guarantee creating a new generation and cut the way on all those opportunists who use the name Palestine as a device to harm Arabs and Jews. It's as simple as that, and I think it is possible, and by the name of existence, we are going to manifest, whether the world like it or not, because it's our problem. And we don't take orders from any external entity. I will not allow the next generation to continue in this vicious cycle for eternity. Enough is enough. I don't want Palestine. I don't care about Palestine. Palestine is not going to guarantee the security and the future of children. But honest leadership that is concerned of building a nation and a new generation, this is what we need at the time being. And let's, by the way, have it as transitional period. And I am sure for the next 10 years, if we work hard, united, to help the Arabs in Judea and Samaria, I am sure that we are going to create a real difference. Then after that, if they still insist on having their own state, then we may discuss it if they have dropped their violence. But as of now, and as long as they are pointing their guns, not only their guns and their propaganda, to demonize, dehumanize, and delegitimize Israel around the globe, this is not the way towards peace, in my opinion.
My question is for Mosab. My name is Emily Bodbor. I'm writing an article for JNS. And I wanted to ask you for my article, what you touched upon that many times, but I wanted to, if you could reiterate, what is the most important element that the West doesn't understand about Hamas? And do you believe that the destruction of Hamas is key to reach peace?
I'll be brief. I know everybody is probably tired. Sorry we kept you for a long morning. What people don't understand is not only the West, it's the West and the East. How can people understand this death culture? It's beyond understanding that some people are willing to sacrifice human life for political gain, worse, for financial gain. And I'm a living example. When my father had to choose between his oldest son and the cause, he chose the cause. He lost his sight. Hamas lost their sight that they are fighting on supposedly on behalf of the children. What type of state you want to build that does not have children in it, that you don't have regard, knowing that you open an assault against Israel? You know that Israel is not going to stay silent. You take the hostages knowing that Israel will have to come into the most populated area to rescue the hostages. This means civilian casualty. Hamas understood all this, and they still did it anyway. Why? Because their strategy is to weaponize civilians. This is not only Hamas, it's a culture. It's the Muslim Brotherhood, and I don't want to generalize more. So some of you don't discredit me. This is something beyond any other culture. If I was in a situation where my enemies came into my household and I knew by resisting or by shooting at them I'm going to harm my children, I prefer to surrender immediately. There is no parent in the world would go in a fight that is going to put their own children in harm's way. Hamas did the opposite. They went and they invited Israel, they dragged Israel in the most brutal fight in our time, knowing that children will pay the price. This shows you their hypocrisy. They claim to care for the people, they claim to care for the children. And it's the same game also with the pro-Palestine worldwide, that everybody is crying for the children. On one hand, they are pushing the Palestinian indoctrination, which lead to the death of children. Then when the children die, they come to blame Israel. This is so twisted. This must be understood. The death culture, weaponizing civilian, sacrificing children for political and financial gain. If we are able to make this connection, then we can see things a lot more clearer. Hamas is not trustworthy. The Muslim Brotherhood is not trustworthy. And anyone who identifies as a Muslim in the political world, trying to mix faith and politics, these are not also trustworthy people. We must separate mosque and politics. We must focus on the future of the children, even if it means that we are going to upset many leaders. So I hope this would be understood. Was this the final question? Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here. God bless.
It's 2025. America's debt is over $37 trillion, and the dollar just had its worst crash since 1973. That puts your savings and your family's future at risk. That's why we trust Alpha Omega Gold, a company that stands unapologetically with Israel and supports Stand Tall Israel. Visit ao.gold/stand to claim your free precious metals wayfinder guide or call 1-855-426-4653 today. Protect your future before it's too late.